Hey guys, welcome back to Based MMA. I got exposed, man. I got fraud checked. I feel like I got fraud checked, right? Robert Whitaker just knocked out Ikram Aliskerov in the first fucking round. Robert Whitaker, who hadn't knocked out anybody since 2017, knocks out Ikram Aliskerov in the first round, which was very impressive. Obviously, I'm pretty sure you guys know, I picked Ikram Aliskerov to beat Robert Whitaker. And I'm not going to come out in here and cope and say that, oh man, I picked Ikram Aliskerov, but I didn't really believe he was going to beat Robert Whitaker. It was more of a bold pick. No, fuck that. I actually believed that Ikram Aliskerov was going to be able to beat Robert Whitaker because I thought, he has good power. He's a little bit more technical than people give him credit for. He's fresh. He hasn't taken the amount of damage that Robert Whitaker has taken in his career. Ikram Aliskerov was actually preparing for a fight. I know he wasn't preparing for a fight against the caliber of somebody like Robert Whitaker, but I still thought, I feel like Robert Whitaker is declining. I think Ikram Aliskerov has good grappling. Not necessarily that he would have success against Robert Whitaker with the grappling, but it's something that he has in his back pocket. I thought that he had a good jab. He had a good right hand. Now, obviously I was wrong, right? Because yes, Ikram Aliskerov has power, but against what type of competition? Phil Hawes and fucking Warley Alves, who used to be a welterweight? In hindsight, obviously I was a complete moron now. Like I said, I was wrong. Robert Whitaker went out there and showed levels. It wasn't just a lucky knockout. Like, he actually set it up pretty well. Ikram Aliskerov, kept throwing that lead kick, that lead body kick, and Robert Whitaker was able to time that and land a right hand that made Ikram do the fucking chicken dance. And then after that, Robert Whitaker landed that head kick. Ikram Aliskerov fell. He tried to get up, and then Robert Whitaker threw a jab and then hit the uppercut right behind it and was able to knock out Ikram Aliskerov in devastating fashion, something that we hadn't seen Robert Whitaker do in quite a while, which was absolutely impressive. And man, awesome for Robert Whitaker, man. Really awesome for Robert Whitaker. And like I said, I didn't just pick Ikram Aliskerov because he's Russian or a Dagestani or because he's friends with Islam Makhachev or he's one of the brothers. Not just because of that. I truly did believe that Ikram Aliskerov was going to win this fight. Obviously, I was very wrong. Robert Whitaker basically exposed him, fraud checked him, knocked him out in the first round, showed him levels that there's a difference between being an unranked opponent and being a top middleweight like Robert Whitaker, one of the best middleweights of all time, probably top 3, top 4. Absolutely insane, man. Absolutely incredible performance by Robert Whitaker. I wish the fight would have gone a little bit longer, but it is what it is. Amazing performance for Robert Whitaker. Took absolutely no damage in this fight. And what is next for Robert Whitaker after this fight? I mean, I feel like the middleweight division is in a very weird position right now because obviously Dricus is fighting Adesanya. We kind of know that Strickland is probably going to get the winner of that fight, right? Strickland's going to fight the winner. Cannonier versus Imavov was a very anticlimactic stoppage. I think that if Imavov would have beat Cannonier, then they could have made Robert Whitaker versus Imavov for a number one contender fight to fight the winner of Strickland versus DDP or Strickland versus Adesanya, whoever that may be. That would have made a lot more sense, but because Imavov versus Cannonier was kind of an anticlimactic stoppage, I think the UFC is going to make Imavov versus Cannonier too. And then I think they want to make Robert Whitaker versus Sean Strickland, but because they promised Sean Strickland basically a title shot after beating Paulo Costa, and then it just doesn't make a lot of sense. Like the fight between Sean Strickland and Paulo Costa just did not make any sense. If anything, it should have been Sean Strickland versus Khamzat Chimaev for UFC Saudi Arabia. Obviously, we didn't know he was going to pull out. And then the winner fights for the title. And then Robert Whitaker should have faced Cannonier too. I think that would have made a lot more sense. Obviously, at the time, we didn't know that Khamzat Chimaev was going to pull out of this fight. I think the UFC wanted to give Khamzat Chimaev a title shot, but because his performance against Kamaru Usman wasn't all that impressive, they couldn't really justify the title shot. So I completely understand that. I just think right now the middleweight division is kind of in a weird position. I don't know if the UFC is just going to make Imavov versus Robert Whitaker. I mean, I think that makes sense, right? But I mean, that stoppage between Jared Cannonier and Imavov was absolutely horrendous. And in my opinion, it should be run back. Even as somebody who picked Imavov to win that fight, like a terrible stoppage. Like you basically just ruined Jared Cannonier's career. In my opinion, they should run that back for UFC Paris. And I don't think Sean Strickland's gonna fight Robert Whitaker, if I'm being honest. I don't think he will. I think he believes he deserves a title shot. He probably didn't even want to fight Paulo Costa. He probably just wanted the rematch against DDP. So I feel like right now the middleweight division is kind of in a weird spot right now. So I don't know what's gonna happen next for Robert Whitaker. I would like to see a fight between him and Sean Strickland. I would love to see that happen next, especially knowing that Sean Strickland and Paulo Costa had a very boring, snoozy fight. I would love to see it. Do I think it happens? No, because I'm gonna be honest. Like if Adesanya beats DDP, Adesanya's gonna want the rematch with Sean Strickland, and if DDP wins, I think the rematch between DDP and Sean Strickland sells better than a rematch between DDP and Robert Whitaker. So I think Robert Whitaker is kind of in a weird spot because he's already lost a couple times to Adesanya, because he already has one loss to Dricus du Plessis, which wasn't all that competitive since he got finished in that second round. So I think Robert Whitaker is kind of in a weird position where he might have to fight, behind his, like, back in the rankings, somebody like Nassourdine Imavov or a Jared Cannonier, because I don't think Sean Strickland's going to want to fight Robert Whitaker. So anyway, guys, amazing performance by Robert Whitaker. Now for the co-main event, we got Sergey Pavlovich versus Alexander Volkov. Man, my boy Sergey Pavlovich got exposed. Guys, Sergey Pavlovich got exposed. My favorite heavyweight, Mr. Incredible, got fucking exposed by Alexander Volkov. And I knew that the height might give him problems. I knew that perhaps the leg kicks, the teeps to the body, the front kicks were going to give Pavlovich a lot of problems, right? Because you stop Pavlovich from closing the range on you with those lead kicks, with the jab, with the right hand, with good movement. And Volkov showed every single trait of that. Like, he showed that, right, in this fight, and was easily able to beat Pavlovich. So you could tell Sergey Pavlovich was just getting very frustrated because he wasn't really able to land clean on Volkov. And the problem was too is that anytime Pavlovich would land, like, he wouldn't really capitalize. Like, he wouldn't like throw in combinations. He would just throw a 1-2 and then would land, and then Volkov would move, and then he would follow him. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I just felt like Sergey Pavlovich couldn't really get his rhythm. And he basically got exposed, man. There was a time where I thought Sergey Pavlovich could beat somebody like Ciryl Gane, perhaps beat somebody like John Jones. Now, I don't believe that anymore, obviously, right? I don't believe that. I think somebody like Ciryl Gane, a really good kickboxer with really good movement and timing and speed, would beat somebody like Sergey Pavlovich, who, yes, has a lot of power, but is very one-dimensional because he's basically just has boxing and power and is built like fucking Mr. Incredible, and that's basically it. You know what I'm saying? Like, Pavlovich is so one-dimensional, and Volkov didn't even need to like shoot for a takedown or anything like that. He was able to basically just outstrike him with good kickboxing skills, which is absolutely insane, man. I got the main event and co-main event wrong, man. I mean, I feel like a fucking total fraud. I shouldn't even be fucking based MMA. I should be fucking casual MMA at this point. Absolutely terrible by me. And yeah, guys, the card was great, man. The card was great. Kelvin Gastelum versus Daniel Rodriguez was a very good scrap, very good fight. I actually thought the fight was very competitive. It was a 30-27 Kelvin Gastelum. I think I gave D-Raw like the first or second round where he was actually landing pretty good combinations. His hands looked pretty slick. And then obviously the Shara Bullet fight was a pretty good performance by him against Tricoli, who was basically an NPC punching bag. What else? Johnny Walker versus Ozdemir. I knew Ozdemir was going to knock out Johnny Walker. I mean, at this point, how can you trust Johnny Walker? I mean, this guy should probably just call it a career. I mean, he's taking so much fucking damage in his career. It's like, bro, you can't fucking take a punch. Like, it's time to take a good look in the mirror and just say, man, do I really want to take this kind of damage for the rest of my career? Like, your chin ain't going to get any better. And I mean, it's sad to say, I like Johnny Walker as a person. He's a very fun fighter, but man, he always gets knocked out in the worst ways as well. So it's very sad for him. Yeah, I mean, I picked Ozdemir to win that fight. Prelims were pretty good as well. So yeah, guys, that's my breakdown of UFC Saudi Arabia, specifically the main event and co-main event. Make sure to like and subscribe. I will be posting my UFC 303 main event breakdown and predictions for the rest of the card this week. So make sure to stay tuned for that. And I'll see you guys in the next one.